Today, we are dissecting the mind and methods of Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. We're going to systematically unpack his 24 mental models of his playbook, from his hiring process and financial strategies to his personal habits and how he handled ethical dilemmas. This is a definitive guide to his mental models. So take out your pen, your paper, and let's get started. So the first one is his core and principles. Well, everything starts here. Smith's enterprise was built on a non-negotiable foundation. First, integrity and ethics. After the Enron scandal, FedEx was a model of transparency. The goal was to prove that you could win without cheating. Second, the famous mantra, people, service, profit. This was the company's lodestar, and the order was critical. Take care of your people, they'll deliver excellent service, and profits will be the natural resort. Now, hiring. How did he build teams? Well, his process was strategic. He personally recruited what he called positive people who saw the vision. He promised good pay and profit sharing. But the key was retention. FedEx had a core commitment to hiring from within and a radical no layoff policy. When they had too many pilots, they retained them as salesmen. They invested in their people for the long haul, creating a fiercely loyal workforce with purple blood. Now, how would he approach decision making? Well, Smith's framework has a fascinating duality. He balanced bold vision with data driven pragmatism. He proposed extreme concepts, but only after hiring consulting firms for exhaustive feasibility studies. He abandoned his own four hub idea when simulations proved it was inefficient. While his instincts were powerful, one executive joined based on intuition and more than logic. He always respected the hard numbers. What is his approach when it comes to mistakes and pivots? Well, FedEx history is a lesson in resilience. When the Federal Reserve rejected his initial idea to transport checks, he was disappointed but not discouraged and immediately pivoted to general business packages. After the first night of operations yielded only 6 packages, they didn't call it a failure. They reframed it as a system test and used the data to immediately restructure. They treated every mistake not as an end, but as a course correction. Leadership style. Smith was captivating, an inspiring leader who also led by example, sometimes unloading planes himself. His style was directive with autonomy. He set the vision with absolute faith, then trusted his people to execute without micromanagement. He encouraged verbal fistfights in meetings for brutal honesty. But once a decision was made, he demanded total unity. Innovation and tactics. Well, it started with a core idea. Okay. His innovation was a continuous process. First, it started with a core idea, hub and spoke network. From there, it was a cycle of trial and iteration. They pivoted, they piloted new end concepts, tested call systems, and evolved package tracking from handwritten bills to barcodes, and eventually to the groundbreaking Cosmos system, which was a massive project to reinvent the company from the ground up. What is Smith's financial strategy? Well, Smith's financial strategy was aggressive and multifaceted. It began with self-funding from his inheritance, followed by securing the largest venture capital deal of its time, over 52 million. He navigated constant cash flow crisis, famously turning the company's last $5,000 into $27,000 in Las Vegas to make payroll. The goal was to survive long enough to achieve profitability, which they did in 1975, leading to a successful IPO in 1978. Now, for the partnership and networking. Smith knew he couldn't do it alone. He cultivated deep relationships with the investment community, finding the lead dog investor to rally others. He personally lobbied government officials to change outdated aviation laws, and he maintained relationships with suppliers and creditors, even when he was behind on payments, using direct negotiation to secure extension that kept the business alive. What is Fred's scaling mechanics? Well, FedEx scaled with explosive speed and precision. They went from 10 to 25 to nearly 60 cities in just over a year. Their fleet grew from two small jets to over 400 planes by the early 90s. The linchpin was the Memphis Super Hub, designed to handle 7 times the volume of any existing hub on Earth. They scaled by building a system that could handle exponential growth from day one. Now, branding and positioning. FedEx branding was iconic, and you can see it today. The purple, orange, white color scheme was designed to convey speed and motion. The name officially changed from Federal Express to FedEx because that's what people called it. They listened to their market, and that's key. Their messaging was legendary, absolutely, positively, overnight. This wasn't just a slogan, it was a promise that differentiated them from everyone else. Now, how did Smith acquire customer and retain them? Well, they acquired customers with brute force and finesse. Sales blitz teams canvassed territories. They held meetings to ask customers directly what they needed. They made service accessible with drop boxes and drive up kiosks. And for retention, they used technology like the Cosmos tracking system to provide a level of reliability and transparency that built unshakable trust. Now, this one's very important. Crisis management. Smith was a master of crisis. He navigated near constant financial crisis. He fought and won against powerful regulatory obstacles. When the board tried to oust him over financial and legal issues, his senior team threatened a mass resignation in solidarity, saving his job. During the Arab oil embargo, he personally negotiated for fuel allocation, presenting a compelling story of public benefit to the government officials. Adaptability. Adaptability was in FedEx DNA. The entire company concept was a pivot after the Federal Reserve rejection. They constantly refined service offerings based on the market feedback. They adapted their operations from a multi-hub to a single hub model based on simulations. When technology made their Zap mail service obsolete, they adapted by absorbing the failure and refocusing on their core express business. Resource allocation. Under extreme pressure, resource allocation was about ruthless prioritization. When cash was tight, employee payroll always came first. Strategic investments were reserved for critical, game changing assets. The Super Hub, larger aircraft, and the Cosmos tech platform, and their most valuable resource, talent, was reallocated creatively, like turning pilots into salespeople to avoid layoffs. And the cultural impact, well, the impact was monumental. FedEx didn't just join an industry, it created a modern express industry. It restructured the transportation industry globally. And internally, the purple blood culture of dedication, and the Guaranteed Fair Treatment Program set a new standard for employee relations that became a model for other companies worldwide. Now, the long term vision. Smith was always playing the long game. The hub and spokes concept from his college paper was the foundation. He was sketching future, larger planes in his office while the company was still a startup. He defied conventional wisdom by successfully leading the company from chaotic startup into a mature global enterprise, never losing sight of the original vision. Ethical dilemmas. Well, this is crucial. To save the company from almost certain bankruptcy, Smith forged documents for a loan guarantee. It was a serious breach of conduct, and he admitted it. He faced legal charges and was ultimately acquitted. While his colleagues acknowledged his different personal code, they never doubted his motive was to save the company and its people. It's a raw look at the pressure of a founder led survival. Now, for negotiation, Smith's style was direct, unyielding, and sometimes charming. To an investor questioning his math, he was brutally dismissive. To banks, he was strategic, having his partner warn them that without their cooperations, the planes would sit on the ground in Memphis and draw flies. He could be highly articulate and turn on the charm, but he negotiated from a position of absolute conviction. Problem solving methodology. Well, his method was hands on and practical. He practiced managing by walking around and famously got his hands dirty unloading packages. He operated in what his team called hook him up mode, a relentless drive to get things done, pushing his team to figure out the how. They also practiced root cause analysis, like when they fixed hub delays by adjusting part time worker pay guarantees. Time management and prioritization. Well, Smith had a sense of extreme urgency. He aimed to compress a normal 3 year growth period into less than 1 year. He was always looking far ahead of the daily struggles, delegating present tasks with high expectations so he could focus on the future. He prioritized his time on the biggest levers: fundraising and lobbying. Personal habits and routines. Well, Smith's engine was relentless work ethic. He and his team worked essentially 24/7. He was an avid reader and a student of military history, which informed his strategy. His defining trait was stubborn optimism and tenacious determination. A famous anecdote of him chilling beer with a CO2 fire extinguisher highlights his resourceful, unconventional, and get it done mindset. Now, what is his mental model for information and processing slash learning? Well, how did he learn? First, from direct experience. His own frustration with shipping delays sparked the idea. Second, from the expert consultation from firms like A.T. Kearney. Third, from constant customer feedback. And fourth, from radical internal communication, keeping every employee constantly and truthfully informed. Pillar 23, okay, the mental model 23 is technology adaptation. Now, FedEx was a technology company disguised as a logistic company. They were early aggressive adopters. They pioneered centralized tracking with Cosmos and digital dispatch with DADS. They embraced scanners and online processing early. The failure of Zapmail taught them a valuable lesson. Technology must serve the core business, not distract from it. And the last one is legacy and exit strategy. Well, Fred's exit strategy was to not exit, but to evolve. The IPO in 1978 was a milestone that secured the company's future. He then oversaw the company's management evolution from a decentralized startup to a structured corporation, a transition many founders failed to make. His legacy was cemented through strategic acquisitions like the Flying Tigers and Kinko's, ensuring FedEx would continue to dominate and define the industry he created. And there you have it. Fred's mental models, 24 of them. And it's the framework that built on unwavering principles, radical resilience, and perfect blend of visionary dreams and pragmatic execution. It's a testament to the fact that a truly great company isn't just a business plan, it's a complete integrated system of thinking. And if you haven't already, I want you to subscribe, and somewhere on the video, I am going to have an amazing video for you to watch. So if you haven't already, hit the bell button and see you next time. Peace.